What's up, YouTube? Legend Master here with a new video, this time against EasyGoing on the Smoke on Wi-Fi Battle Finder. Well, kind of. It's actually the forums right now because the actual Wi-Fi Battle Finder is dead at the moment. Anyway, he's leading a very bulky team with only two Pokemon that look like that'll hit really hard, and that's Darmanitan and Rhyperior. This is the team I've been using. We tried to get a battle in once, but unfortunately we had a disconnection problem, and so we tried again, and so I figured we were probably going to try to replay back to where we were, but I guess that didn't happen, and that's fine. It made things a lot more interesting anyway. We did start with the same leads though, so I was really thinking we were going to actually go for the same attacks and everything, but it doesn't happen that way, and so I go ahead and I go for the U-turn, just as I did last time, and this gave me a lot of momentum because I had Victini and Darmanitan giving me a lot of momentum finding stuff, but he didn't switch this time, which means I'm forced to go to something else, and I decide Meloetta with the Focus Blast would be my best chance at taking down Rhyperior, no problem. Hit it with the Focus Blast, it'll do a huge chunk of damage. Sure, it's not stabbed, but I just want Rhyperior dead. I know how much of a threat this thing is, and I miss. Well, this is a good beginning, and he Dragon Tails. It hits, and I'm like, well, that's not going to do too much. I'm a bulky Meloetta. Ow! Is he... And a crit. Well, this isn't going good at all. This start is really bad. Anyway, I'm going into Tornadus now, and because those rocks, I don't really see an opportunity to keep Tornadus around. Tornadus is a good, fast revenge killer, but his team's incredibly bulky, and so I really don't see an opportunity to really use him. Plus, he has two potential Scarf users, and those are Flygon and Darmanitan, so Tornadus really isn't all that useful, so I figured I'm just going to do as much damage as I can before I go down, and now that I think about it, I probably could have done, I don't know, Superpower probably did more damage anyway, but gets smashed by the Stone Edge, easily taking out Tornadus, of course, and Whirlwind goes down, and this is really looking bad now, because I missed the Focus Blast. I'm in a bad situation all over, and so I'm going to go back into Meloetta and fire off another Focus Blast, because it rarely misses for me. So I'm like, well, I'll fire off Focus Blast, and I'll get the Rhyperior killed, or at least do good damage to whatever comes in. In comes Hitmontop, a fairly good switch, but, I mean, this is a modest Meloetta. It's still not going to appreciate the Focus Blast, as bulky as it may be. Fire off the Focus, I miss again. Well, this is going really well for me. This is getting to be very problematic. And anyway, I decide, well, I'm just going to fire off the Psychic, and he pulls out the Sucker Punch. And I was like, oh no, I forgot that Hitmontop likes to carry this. How did I forget that he likes to carry this? This is going to hurt. It's probably going to take out Meloetta, doing absolutely... Wow, I survived. So I get to fire off a Psychic, and I get rid of Hitmontop, which is great, because now I can get Claydol to put up Stealth Rocks later on, if I get the opportunity. So that's definitely a positive. Getting rid of Hitmontop this early is excellent. I would have rather gotten rid of Rhyperior, because that Dragon Tail shenanigan is really going to cut into my team's life span. Anyway, in comes Darmanitan. Nothing on my team wants to take any of its stab, flare blitzes, or a superpower from Darmanitan. So I'm going to have to let Meloetta die. And this does give me the switch advantage, which is a positive, because the next thing that comes in, at least I'll be able to hit with something super effective. In comes Roserade, and I figure, great, Victini. Now, V-Create's too obvious. It's just way too obvious to go for this early. I mean, most of his team won't enjoy taking one, but I know Flygon can take one and then retaliate with an Outrage or an Earthquake, and I don't want to take either one of those. So I went for the Zen Headbutt, figuring Umbreon would not be foolish enough to come in on a potential banded V-Create, but it was apparently, so I'm forced to switch. And I go into Napoleon because... unless he had something completely absurd, I can easily wall Umbreon all day. And apparently he's got the yawn, which means Empoleon's going to be forced to switch. And this is also a problem because this entire match, this time around, he's been playing around my team really well. He's going to go into Roserade now, though. And at this point, I just want to get something killed. I really do. But I don't want to over-predict, or I don't want to under-predict or anything, so I'm still over-predicting a little bit here. He does switch, though, which I figured he would. He really doesn't want to take any kind of stab flare blitz from killer mode, so I figured he wouldn't, and U-turn would still do good damage against Roserade. It's more specially defensive anyway. So gets a little more damage off on Rhyperior, and now my really only opportunity to take out Rhyperior is go into Claydol, fire off an Ice Beam, get rid of the rocks and stuff like that. And so this match has been a really, really frustrating one because of this blasted Rhyperior. Very bulky, running the solid rock ability, of course. Ice Beam. This has a little bit of special attack investment as well, so it does some good damage, but Rhyperior takes it and Dragon Tails me out, no problem. Which means those Stealth Rocks are going to continue to add up on damage, and this is problematic, but I figure at this point a superpower should take Rhyperior out. I mean, I do have a large attack stat, he's at low health, so a superpower should take him out at this point. Hits, 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 does it take him out? No, it survives on like nothing. And now I've got a defense drop on top of that, which means Dragon Tails is going to pretty much take me out. I know it, so I'm like, well, there goes my best check to most of his team. Darmanitan goes down, so I think, but no, survive on 16 as well. My team just did not want to die apparently today. Into Claydol, and so I'm going to Rapid Spin, get rid of the rocks here, because I really don't want to keep on having that residual build up. And then later on, hopefully I'll be able to get the rocks up myself once Rhyperior's dead, because then his Stealth Rocker and his Rapid Spinner will be dead, and that'll give me a very distinct advantage. But there goes the Stealth Rock, and he Dragon Tails again, very, very determined to keep on racking up that residual. I guess he thought I didn't have Stealth or Rapid Spin or something, but still worked out pretty well. And now I'm into Empoleon, and again, this Emperor Penguin really comes in handy. Physically defensive Empoleon, no one expects it to be quite as bulky as it is, but smash it. The Rhyperior with the Scald, take it out, finally get rid of that stupid thing. But now I'm faced with a problem, and that's Roserade. Now, here's what I could do. I could switch into any number of Pokemon, but I'm fearing he's either going to go for the Sleep Powder, try to put something to sleep, or he's going to go ahead and set up Entry Hazards. Either way, Darmanitan would be my best switch in, because it's at low health. Any Entry Hazards will basically kill Darmanitan at this point. And so I can just fire off a Stab Flare Blitz and do as much damage as I can before I die. So that's basically all Darmanitan can do at this point. So smash and almost take out Umbreon. Almost. But I do see an opportunity here with Empoleon. I can come back in, set up all over Umbreon now, get some toxic and shenanigans going on. And so that's kind of my hope here. Just get all that stuff going on where he just does not have an opportunity to do anything except kind of watch as his team dies by toxic damage and Scald Burn damage. So that's kind of my hope here. Getting behind the sub will make it so he will be forced to go for super effective hits, and his two Pokemon that can hit Empoleon super effective are Scarfed, I do believe, just because of how he's been using them. So, that being kept in mind, this is a good opportunity to just kind of set up and get some momentum going. At least I'm hoping so. Now, I do realize that Roserade's still around, and it does a very good job at checking Empoleon. It doesn't do the best at taking Empoleon out, as its Poison Stab it's immune to, and Grass is neutral thanks to its Steel typing. So it's not the best check against Empoleon, but it'll do alright. So he's going to go ahead and bring that in. And I just wanted to get Toxic off now, because I figured if he stays in and I go for a burn and I get burned, Empoleon will be burned, and that'll be the end of any chance I have at all. So I can't risk getting the burn. So I'll just fire off the Toxic, kind of hoping he'll stay in. But in comes Roserade. And so now he knows Empoleon's full set. But that's okay, because now I'm going to go ahead and knock off his recovery item, which will make it so it's a lot easier to take him out later on. But the problem with this is he's still getting those injury hazards up, and that's what stall teams like to do. Very frustrating overall, but goes for the Giga Drain, and I'm just going to fire off the Scald as he does the neutral damage hit. Now, because he's a specially based Roserade, I can't stay in because I'm a physically based Empoleon. I really don't want to take a stab Giga Drain, especially because I don't have any special defense investment. And I don't get the burn, which is even worse, but what can I do? So I'm almost back up to full HP after all that. So Empoleon's still doing a really nice job keeping me in this game. And so now I can go into Victini and threaten with the V-Create. And at this point, I really don't have any other choice but to go for that V-Create as he sets up another layer of spikes. How great. Anyway, he's going to switch, fearing taking any kind of stab move. And since I went for the Zen Headbutt last time, I think he figured I was going to go for it again. But this time, I'm just going to go for the V-Create, and that is going to land home, doing a huge amount of damage. But I don't want to stay in and risk getting hit by anything after this, especially since that easily wipes out Umbreon completely. Just completely destroys that Pokemon. And that's why I thought he wouldn't want to bring Umbreon in on a Victini. But in comes Darmanitan. I really don't want Victini to take any hits. I really don't. I'd rather have Claydol take the hits, even though the spikes are down, and I have Rapid Spin on this thing. Because Claydol really isn't my most important Pokemon at this point. I mean, it has the Ice Beam, which could take out Flygon really easy, but I doubt it's going to have an opportunity to do that because it does have the U-turn and it's Scarfed, so easily outspeeding me anyway. And so Claydol really isn't all that helpful anymore, unfortunately, so I'm going to have to let Claydol die here. And so this is a really bad situation because all I got left now is Victini and Empoleon. He does get a useless crit there, which is kind of funny, but this is a really bad situation to be in because he's still got 3 Pokemon, one very bulky Roserade, and then 2 very hard-hitting Pokemon as well. And depending what he decides to lock himself into, it could be game. Earthquake can completely wreck what I've got left. So, this game could be pretty much over. But I go for the Zen Headbutt, easily take out Roserade, smash it with that, no problem, take it out. And so, it's now down 2-2. It's looking fairly close, but this could still turn out to be very ugly. But he goes for the U-turn, and I'm neutral to that, thankfully. And it's not the strongest move in any Pokemon's arsenal. It only has a 70 base, so I take it and survive, barely. But this does mean I'm going to get a banded Zen Headbutt off before I go down. So I'm going to go ahead and fire off the Zen Headbutt now. And that is going to leave a nice little mark. Unfortunately, I can't switch Victini out because of those spikes. And I wouldn't want to just because both of his Pokemon are Scarfed. So they outspeed Victini anyway. So I have to let Victini fall now, unfortunately. But he locks himself into Outrage. this gives me an opening, a window to actually come back and win this game with just Empoleon. So this is amazing. Because he's locked himself into Outrage, I can go back into Empoleon. And this is such a key move, because this is a physically defensive Empoleon running Scald, Substitute, and those two moves are going to win me the game here. It has Toxic and Knockoff too, but Scald and Substitute are really what's going to win it here. So anyway, second Outrage hits, does a fair amount, just enough that I think a third Outrage might break my sub, and I know if I'm going to win this, I have to have a Substitute up when Darmanitan comes in. I have to have a Substitute. And it'll also help me get into Torrent range, so I'll easily be able to take it out. Anyway, in comes the third Outrage. He's going to go into Confusion, but I don't know if the Substitute can take it, so I actually go ahead. I'm going to play it safe and just go for another sub. And this gets a little stally because I'm just clicking Substitute right now because I can't afford not to have one up. I just cannot afford to have one not up. So he's going to go ahead and actually hit himself in Confusion this turn. And actually, after seeing that damage, it might actually be a banded Flygon, but I rarely see that, so I'm pretty sure it's Scarfed and just running like Adamant Natured. Anyway, this does get me up to a respectable amount of health. Not a great, but a respectable, so I'll easily be able to get another sub up. And he's going to go for another Outrage, telling me he's at least choiced. And smashes my sub, and now I can get my free, mostly intact Substitute up, and I'll be able to take that next Outrage, as long as it's not a critical. If I don't get critted here, in this next turn, I win the game. Because Scald will take out Darmanitan as long as it's not like a defensive variant, and I've never heard of anyone actually running defensive Darmanitan, and I know he's not because he's a Scarfer. Anyway, hits, does very nice damage, but I take it, thankfully, because I have that sub up, and take out Flygon. And this puts me in a great position. I have enough HP where I'm still in the Torrent range, and now, this game could be mine. What a comeback. If he had not gone for the Outrage, I probably would have lost. And when I mean probably, I definitely would have lost. It would have been a close 1-0 still, but he would have taken the game. But because he went for the Outrage, I'm able to lose my sub to an Earthquake. Critical hit at Earthquake, which is kind of funny considering what happens next. I go for my own Scald, Torrent boosted, and smash the Darmanitan. I have a little bit of special attack investment, not a lot, just enough to give me a little more attack power, and take out Darmanitan with the Scald, get a crit in the process, so that was pretty amazing. And very close match, and definitely made some key misplays that made it very, very difficult. Had a few key misses that made it even worse, but it turned out to be a really good match, and I hope you enjoyed it.